Welcome to PLZ Soccer's football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff, Tam McManus and Hugh McDonald are here with me. Delighted to have your company. We've got lots to talk about, and of course with this trophy in mind, we're going to look back at the World Cup final. Was it the best ever? Is Messi the GOAT? Give us your thoughts on the game itself. A man who scores a hat-trick in the World Cup final and still on the losing end. We'll talk about Kylian Mbappe as well, and we'll discuss the referee. What about his performance overall? Didn't hear too much complaining about VAR throughout the tournament. Will that reflect well on the Scottish game? Can we obviously improve our standards and look at the World Cup and take it into the Scottish Premiership? Well, we'll look back over the Scottish Premiership too. We'll announce the winners of our Copa and Grieve Sports competition, and just for good measure, let's throw in our question relating to the World Cup. Which player picked up the young player of the tournament? Which player picked up the young player of the tournament? And we'll announce the answer on that one at the end of the programme. So, with domestic issues at hand, let's start first of all with the World Cup. Ruffy, 3-3, penalty shootout. In the end, Argentina win it. Where does it rank for you as a World Cup final?
Well, as we know in this show, there's some of us have watched more cup finals, World Cup finals than others. I think that one yesterday was the most exciting World Cup I've ever witnessed. But I have to go for 1970 when Brazil won 4-1. I think that team was absolutely fantastic. I don't think the Argentinian team was a great team, but it was thrilling to watch and so exciting. Yeah,
okay, let's go to the opposite end of the age group then. Tam, best ever?
Probably one of the best I've ever seen. The first one I seen was 1990, Andres Bremer penalty kick, which was a poor game, terrible game. So, but I thought for excitement, I thought Argentina had it won it 2-0. I think everyone did. It's amazing how the goal just changed the whole outlook of the game. France came in, it got the goal, finished the stronger, could have won it. And then when Argentina go 3-2 up with 5 minutes to go in extra time, you think they've won it again. And then, lo and behold, they give a penalty away. So it was a very, very exciting game. I'm just glad that Argentina came out on the right side of it, because for Messi it would have been devastating for the whole country, to have that and thrown it away, twice. So they got the reward in the end, and I thought they deserved it. I thought they were the best team in the tournament.
Yeah, okay. Hugh, you're allowed to have a smile on your face. It went to a penalty shootout. You've got a guy who scored a hat-trick, still ends up in the losing end. You've got a guy that, for the sentimental people in the world, were willing him to finally end his career with that trophy that he's craved forever and a day.
I was glad he got it. I was surprised at how glad I was he got it, because usually I'm not really that sentimental with these things with football. But when it was, I've got to make an admission here. I had to record it because of Secret Santa duties. I was out with my granddaughters. But people were very nice. People who knew that I was out with that were very nice, kept texting me, "This is the best World Cup." You're missing the best World Cup. And at one point I was wandering about in Morrison's and still there are other supermarkets available, and it was absolutely empty. With one of my granddaughters, with people shouting, "Argentina have scored," and "France have missed," and all that. It was just mayhem. My idea about the finals, I went back and I watched it as not live, so that takes away a lot of the excitement of it. And for 80 minutes I'm watching this and I'm saying, why are people telling me this is the greatest thing ever? And then bang, it just exploded. And from then on it was hugely dramatic, hugely exciting. Even when you knew the result was coming, what would it be like to have watched it live? I don't know. To put it in context, I agree with Ruff. Brazil 70 was that was a really good Brazilian team. It was a good Italian team as well, and the Italians get cuffed. I think 66 was a great final, 4-2.
Yeah.
West Germany for sheer quality as well. Germany v Holland 1974. It was only 2-1, but you had Beckenbauer, Müller, Meyer, Breitner on one side, and you had Nieskens, Cruyff, and the rest, and Janssen and Van Hanegem on the other side. That was a real game, Peter. Yeah. So I wouldn't maybe say it was in fact I would say it wasn't the greatest World Cup final ever, but as Ruffy says, it was certainly exciting.
Yeah, I've seen a few myself. I think we're kind of there's a real good mix of age groups here as far as the World Cups. I thought it was the best ever. I thought when you've got the two main people in a World Cup and you're saying, I wonder if they can deliver on the biggest stage. and they did deliver. And Mbappe, you know, for 80 minutes, you were thinking that the intrigue of the first half and the start of the second half was something's happened. You know, it's almost like the Ronaldo situation where he was on the team sheet, he wasn't on the team sheet. You're looking, you've heard there's a virus, and you're thinking, oh, wait a minute, something's up here. Argentina are dominating this game. They're 2-0 up. They scored a wonderful second goal, which epitomised everything you want in a World Cup. And then all of a sudden, all hell lets loose when Mbappe suddenly comes to life. And his goal, Ruffy, when he took it on the volley, was top drawer in a World Cup final.
Yeah, it was a fantastic technique, you know, but to do it in a World Cup final is fantastic. I thought the commentators at one stage, around about the 80 minute, 81 minute, were just about to say he needs to come off. He needs to substitute him. He's doing nothing. He's not contributing to the team at all. He was just staying wide. He wasn't a part of the game. He wasn't doing anything. And then all of a sudden, obviously, things happen. And it must have been an incredible feeling. You could see it affected Argentina to be 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go in a World Cup final, and then the penalty, you know, and then, you know, how do you recover for that? You could see for the last 10 minutes they were affected, but all credit to them, they came out as they did against the Netherlands. The extra time they were fantastic. They were back up their level they were in the 80 minutes.
Surely you've got to highlight Martinez's save.
Yeah, fantastic.
The save at the end saves Argentina in the World Cup.
That's a match winner. No, I've said it all along that all goalkeepers make great saves, but you make the important saves that win you games. This won them the World Cup.
Yeah.
A great save with his leg was absolutely fantastic.
Colin Stewart is appealing to you, Ruffy. He says 54 final was a really good final, Ruffy, as well.
54 was West Germany again. They beat Hungary in the final.
Yeah.
Hungary being at that.
You were at that game?
I was at that game. I'm still
this morning.
Still to file my mans. I'm hoping they don't need them by now, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a great World Cup where probably the greatest team. People talk about was the Brazil team in '82, the greatest team not to win a World Cup. No, but nowhere near. The 1954 Hungarians losing the World Cup to Germany in a final was the biggest shock. They beat them 8-3 earlier in the tournament, and they get beat 3-2 in the final.
Yeah, that's for many of our younger viewers. That's why we've got such a wide range of people in here. Well, I'm going to talk to you about the GOAT in a minute, because quite simply we sent our man Adam Binney, our reporter, out to Buchanan Street, which was, you know, no mean feat.
I thought you were going to say Argentina.
See me saying that, I said, don't tell us one and say this.
Listen, we've got a budget for the Champions League next year. We don't want to blow it right away. Adam's out there to find out, well, was it the best World Cup final ever, and is Messi the GOAT?
Last night, Argentina and Lionel Messi were crowned World Cup champions, leaving many people asking the question, is Lionel Messi now the greatest player of all time? So we put that question to the Glasgow public to ask who they believe is the greatest footballer to have ever lived. Excuse me, sir, who do you think is the greatest footballer of all time?
Pele.
Pele, thank you.
That's got to be Messi now.
Excuse me, folks, who do you think is the greatest footballer of all time?
Messi.
Lionel Messi.
All time. Messi. Thank you.
All time, yes, you know, Ronaldo.
Easily Messi. David Beckham.
The one that comes to mind is probably Messi.
Messi. Messi, probably.
Who do you think the best football player of all time is?
Oh, myself. Who do you think? Messi, of course.
Andy Considine.
Thank you very much.
Messi, yeah.
Messi? Yeah. Thank you. Well, the Glasgow public have spoken, but who do you think is your greatest player of all time?
Surprised you never said him.
Yeah, I know. He was dying to pick himself. But to be fair, who'd have thought Andrew Considine? we found the only Aberdeen fan in Buchanan Street. Anyway, is he the GOAT?
Yeah, I think he is for me. I said it at the start of the tournament. I think if he won this tournament with Argentina, who I don't think they're a fantastic team by all means. They've got a lot of hard workers in there and dogs, you know, in the middle of the park, but I think he's got that wee bit of special magic dust, and he showed it.
They don't have much of a team, right? They've got the best young players. They won the best young player. He would have won if the guy hadn't scored the hat-trick. He'd have been top goal scorer, and their goalkeeper was the best goalkeeper in the tournament.
Aye, but I just don't think they were a great side. I don't think they were a great side. And if you're talking about Messi, I mean, you're looking at, we spoke about it earlier, 19 years old, he scored a hat-trick in El Clasico, and 35 years old, he wins the World Cup. Longevity.
Yeah.
over the last 15, 20 years, he's been consistently the best player in the world for me, and he's done it at 35. So for me, there's no argument for me.
Tom,
he's the best.
There's no argument.
There is an argument. There is an argument. It's coming. But this is an Argentina side, Ruffy, that apart from Saudi Arabia, had gone 36 games without losing, and the back line was absolutely rock solid.
Yeah, that form was sort of out the window when they lost that second game. You know, everybody went, well, who have they been beating? But after that, they just stepped up, you know. And for me, I know Messi, everybody's talked for me. The player of the tournament for me was McAllister. I thought McAllister in the Argentina team was absolutely immense. I know Messi was great, but I thought McAllister was the engine in that team, and I think he...
Better than Messi?
In the final yesterday, I thought McAllister was great.
Okay. Hugh Scott says, Peter, the best line of the World Cup had to go to Ali McCoist, who says Mbappe's the first player to score a hat-trick in the World Cup final when all three have crossed the line. It was a good line from Ali, but probably you could probably in the ITV van they would all have been raging, but it was a good line. There was lots of people who are saying Maradona still, and listen, it's all subjective. It's a joy. It's not a definitive, because when I was reading your WhatsApp group last night, I thought to myself, you know, Bonzo, that's it, final.
Ayatollah McManus.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? I've actually hung about with somebody. We went for dinner with a guy and his wife, and they sat down, and there was two other couples there, and we sat down, and he said, you know, this is the best stadium I've ever been to, and that's it, final. There's no other better. And I thought to myself, wow, I can't wait for this dinner to finish so I can get out of here. But I still think my order has changed. So I've got Pele, I've got Messi, and then I've got Maradona, and then I've got Ronaldo, and then I've got Cruyff. There's my five. I've changed, and by the way, I don't care about the hatred of Ronaldo. He will be looked upon as a great.
Sure.
I'm sticking with Pele, and you know why I'm sticking with Pele? Because you know I'm not into phones and all that. I saw something on Facebook. It was a Brazilian commentator showing you everything that Pele had done, that everybody else, the Cruyff turn, the goal. I mean, that just speaks for itself.
But Pele's thing, the phenomenon of Pele is not really being explained. Tan quite rightly says that, you know, the longevity of Messi. Messi scoring a hat-trick at 19 in a domestic match, albeit an important domestic match. Pele scored 2 goals in a World Cup final at 17.
I know, I keep saying it.
Playing in a team... They didn't pick 17s. You're not playing for Borghetti Juniors or something like that. You're playing for Brazil of Zagallo, Dada, Garrincha. Trying to get into that team was amazing. To be 17 and in that team.
If Messi was 17 now, I said to our young reporters this morning, if Messi was 17 now and in the Argentina side, and managed to do what Pele did at 17, that people would be doing cartwheels out here right now, going bananas about him.
What I think about the argument, and I had it with my son and his mate last night as well, and it was very interesting argument, but the only thing I object to, see if you say Messi is the greatest of all time, I go, I don't agree with you, but it's a great argument, and it's
a great pub argument, isn't it?
It's a great pub argument, I think, you know, this is why I don't get it's great. What does it, see people say, that's it, this argument's over, you know. Messi, there's no argument. You go, well, actually, you'll find there is an argument.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the joy of the subjectivity on it, and of course, as Tam rightly points out, people can only judge what they've seen.
Aye.
You know, and that's
that in Buchanan Street. If everybody walking up the street in Buchanan Street of a certain age is going to say Messi.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think people of our age, and I said this to my son last night, I think we cling to things, older things, instinctively. We cling to the Peles, we cling to the Maradonas, because they meant so much to us in a time where football still means so much to me, but at a time when you're really impressionable. I'm watching Pele in a World Cup final at 15, 1970.
Yeah.
I think that's a very impressionable football age.
Yeah, but the problem is here, and this is where I think, and Andrew has just said, Pele, FFS, you know what that means, as if to say he's not buying into it. All I would say, and James Wright makes a good point, Mbappe will in time become the greatest player ever. He's 23, turning 24 shortly, and you know,
and has won a World Cup.
He'll be a top scorer. I seen him last night. He's only a couple off the top already at 23.
Yeah, but the only thing I was going to say, Tam, and this is the key issue to this, and this is where a lot of people's argument falls down, is just looking back and researching and trying to get a greater context of a player at that time in the generation, a player this time, maybe a Cruyff of his time. Once you actually start to load up the bases on the information on them, then you can look at the collective picture and say, okay, this was him at that time, this was him here in this generation, and any other of the candidates, Ronaldos, the Cruyffs, the Maradonas. Because, if you listen to a Gary Lineker, Tam, or anyone else, they can't see past Maradona because they played against him and they're just absolutely phenomenal.
Gary Lineker says Messi's the best of all time.
Yeah, but I'm saying he said he's the best of all time now, but he played against Maradona.
He did, and he played against him, but now he says that Messi's the best of all time and he played against Maradona, so I think that's got to take that on board.
Yeah. So I'm not saying it as if Gary. I'm not saying
he's not the oracle, but I'm just saying.
Gary Lineker says it will just finish the show.
That's you. Off you go.
But anyway,
that's me beat.
Tweet him tonight, will you? But listen, this is another gentleman says Pelé played against some weaker opposition at club level. I'm
never came out of Brazil.
I'm absolutely again, I'll bank you on this one, because I'm absolutely gobsmacked at a time when everybody thinks in the 1960s, in the 1958 and the 1960s, they think that British football was the be-all and end-all. That was that be-all and end-all that nobody could actually beat Brazil in a world tournament.
Well, why would they want to come out of Brazil?
Well, I was going to say to you, and they also think that everybody in Brazil was ranked rotten and in some way backward, Ruffy.
No, I don't think that. That's again, as you say, research there. You go to who was winning club championships. Brazil in particular were winning. All the World Cups with players in the Brazil team who played for teams in Brazil. I don't imagine there'd be many Brazilian players in 1970. Playing abroad. Nobody at all.
The classic thing. This is Pelé, right? Pelé played in 4 World Cups, right?
Yeah.
He won 3 of them and was kicked out of one. That's it. That's his World Cup record.
Yeah.
He played from, and you talk about longevity, he played from 17 till he retired at 30 from World Cups, because here's another thing about the game then was brutal.
Yep. Yeah.
Messi if you're the greatest of all time, do you have to be able to play in all eras? If so, Messi couldn't play in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, what about the referee's performance, Ruffy? I thought he was excellent. I did actually put out a tweet saying, the best referees in history have had bald heads. And then I get absolutely battered by people going Bobby Madden, John Rowbottom. And I was like, calm down, it's a joke. But he was good.
And an ex-player, which obviously opens another debate.
Yeah.
Our ex-football players should be referees at a top level, and I think one of the pundits was quick to say, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to take the stick. The only problem I had, 2 things. I don't think I'm not too sure about the Argentine penalty kick.
I didn't think that was
first one.
No.
And I thought there was a penalty kick. I can't remember now if it was in the 90 minutes or extra time when the Argentinian boy was through and somebody bundled him in the back. I thought that should have been looked at again.
Yeah.
But apart from that, no, I thought he did particularly well. There were some meaty tackles going in off the ball and everything. So no, I thought on the whole he did okay.
Well, listen, the one thing I want to show you, and it's great, is the Argentina fans. The place went absolutely nuts. It was just fantastic to see the Argentina supporters going ballistic, because the country has waited 36 years. They've been celebrating and talking about Maradona. They've also been highlighting the fact that Messi has let them down so many times before. Some people are critical of that, but if you wait that longevity that Tam's talking about, Hugh, boy, he waited a long time to eventually, the Argentina fans absolutely hailing him as the new king.
I'm glad for that as well, because the problem, when you talked about Pelé never leaving South America, the problem a bit with Messi was he never really played in South America. So there's a lot of Argentinian fans always thought, is he Catalan rather than Argentinian? Yeah. Is he? And there was that, and I don't think that was the case. I think he always gave his best and things like that. Things didn't work out for us. When I'm talking about Messi, all I've got is gratitude for Messi, because I've watched him live, I've watched him telly, I've watched him, and I just think it's just wonderful to watch. It's just.
We've all been lucky though. I've been able to see Pelé play.
Right.
I've been able to see Maradona. and Messi. And Messi, I've seen Ronaldo on several occasions, but I've seen Messi in one of the greatest club sides I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Barcelona.
I would agree. And the joy that these guys give you, you know, it almost, that's why I think the argument that greatest players should be a light-hearted one. It should be a thing, because see when people you see in Twitter, people get really angry about it. You know, you go, no, this is just it's a fun thing. You can say something, you can maybe advocate Maradona, you can advocate Pelé, and still be in awe of Messi. And what I was thinking last night when I finished watching the game and I put on social media and all the stuff was coming in for Buenos Aires, and I thought, God, that must be that's a proper football country, and that is properly important to them. I think there was a clip this morning, a guy going on his bike through Buenos Aires cycling, and it's at the moment when the winning penalty goes in, and he's going through calm streets and the place just erupts. It's like a film scene. They come rushing out of buildings, there's roars, there's guys stopping, just like that, and you go, that's what it's all about.
Well, it was like that in Maryhill, Ruffy. I mean, look at the bus parade in Buenos Aires when
Maryhill did have a key at the front door.
You'll be getting emotional when you see
come back for the celebration. They say there is no celebration, but haven't they budgeted for it? That was Maryhill.
I don't know if we've got it there, but the bus parade from the Argentinian players is just absolutely. I mean, look at that, Ruffy. That is sensational, isn't it? Can you imagine being on that bus with a World Cup in there? I mean, it must be the longest trip ever before they get to the meal and the celebrations afterwards.
Yeah, and usually they end up in the town hall or something like that, don't they? There's some civic place where they all can come out individually and get their names shouted out, because it is a team event. It is, you know, there were other players there who played their part in this. The guys who came up and took the penalty kicks, you know, they'll be remembered. I mean, everybody will be remembered in it, but the goalkeeper obviously special mention. But individually, it's great when they all come out and get the same applause.
There were great supporting over there as well.
Yeah,
it was a home game last night, wasn't it, for Argentina?
Well, that was a big takeaway for me. I was only over there for the first week, and that Argentinian fans everywhere, Tam, and really vocal and excited.
Adam, our reporter, is just on the feed, said, Peter, this is your reporter, Adam here. Messi's the best of all time, and it's not even close. So there you are.
The Oracle has now spoken.
Yeah, that's it. And that's it, final.
Argument
finished. Yeah. And by the way,
he's watched 7 football matches in his life, and they've all got 1 World Cup.
Christopher Coyle says, Messi is the GOAT. I wonder if Pelé was 17 now, playing in Europe, would he cope with VAR? Yes, he would. He would have had another 284 penalties that he wasn't awarded. But listen, that's the great thing. And Hugh Scott says, Peter, what about Sergio Aguero doing the John Terry after the final? I thought that was great. I actually had to go and check.
Was he in the squad?
Was Aguero in the squad? He was actually a cheerleader for them, which was great.
I thought John Terry was brilliant on Twitter about it as well.
Fantastic.
You know, I did it first, he said. And I had the full kit as well, shin guards and things like that.
You got to wear the shin guards for it, but it was good fun. Listen, the best photograph of the whole thing has to be Messi with the World Cup. It's just absolutely awesome, because for everyone it just encapsulates what the whole thing is about, Tam.
Well, they're saying it's going to be the most photographed or liked post on social media. If he puts on his Instagram, I assume, on Instagram, but when he puts that photo up, it's going to be the biggest ever in terms of.
And I know the days of promotion and branding and everything. Did he come up in a different pair of boots? I recognise he was wearing a pair of gold boots when he came up to get his medal, and I don't think he played in gold boots.
No, I seen his wife. I seen his wife holding one of the gold boots. I don't know if that was. Yeah, I don't know if it was.
Well, what did he get for? Oh, he got a kind of a ball for playing in the tournament. Yeah, listen.
There was also the story about Argentina's goal, which should have been disallowed by VAR as well. There was 2 substitutes on the park before the ball went into the net.
Oh, the second goal?
Yes, I saw that actually. I saw them.
And the park, one in extra time.
Yeah, but who's going to? Who's going to deny them that goal? Listen,
why does he go back to Buenos Aires as one of the substitutes at the park?
Here's some of the tweets. Obviously from Mbappe. The tweet basically there is Nous reviendrons, which is basically we will return, we will be back. And I think he's right. Listen, he
They were
will
very
go back.
classy, France, weren't they?
Yes, and of course you can be classy because quite simply, not only have they won it before, but the generation they've got coming through again, they're going to take some stopping.
I'll tell you what, there was a brave decision for the manager to take off Giroud.
Yeah.
Who did they take off Griezmann as well? Who did they take off? Two of them, just before half time. And I'm thinking, you need a goal, you're 2-0 down and you take Giroud off, but very nearly paid off for them.
I think as well, what I liked about it, and I haven't yet looked at all the transcripts from all the interviews, but I looked at quite a few of them this morning. Nobody mentioned, we had to take Giroud off because he was sick, or we had to watch Griezmann because he was sick. Nobody's mentioned, the virus, where they could come out and they could have said anything they wanted, with no energy or whatever,
Yeah.
And I think that's good because it's in a position when you get beat, it's easy to
make excuses. Yeah. Here's a tweet from the Argentinian FA, and there you have it. And the reason why it's been changed is there's that third star in the middle. How good does that feel for Argentina? 78, 86 and now 2022. And also I liked Emi Martinez, the goalkeeper. He just posted this on Twitter, and it's just you've got to click on image of the goat in the area to prove that you're a real person, and he's decided that Messi is the goat. Now I just come up with this, and I don't know if you agree, Ruffy, but I picked, if you've got somebody that you think of that I've got wrong, I just picked 11 that I thought would be the team of the tournament. Now, can I just say something to you? See, when I picked this, I did not include any England players because I'm listening and I'm watching some of the media down there. They need their heads looked. Jude Bellingham wasn't even in the semi-final. So I picked Martinez in goal, Juranovic, Romero, Guardiol. That midfield four of Hakimi, Modric, Griezmann, McAllister, and then Alvarez, Messi and Mbappe. Anybody, Tam, you'd like to throw in there that maybe is worth it?
I'd love to, but I think that's actually a decent team there. I'd love to have picked holes in that, Peter, but you've done well there. I think there wouldn't be any really for me.
I mean, Unami, the Moroccan boy at 22, 23, everybody's going to be chasing him, Hugh.
And I thought the Moroccan goalkeeper was good, but I mean...
The Croatian goalkeeper maybe as well.
But you can't really shout too much at picking Martinez. I mean, he was successful with a couple of penalty shootouts, and there was penalty shoot in the World Cup.
Yeah.
The big save in extra time, Ruffy spoke about.
I mean, maybe somebody could come up with someone in the midfield and might say Modric is not worthy of it, but
Modric is quality.
He's just top drawer, isn't he?
Modric is, even in a third place game,
Ruffy, I know you're looking at that team. You're thinking, why did I not put in Danny McGrain? But I was really tempted.
I thought that was Johnson out in the wing instead of McAllister.
I mean, listen, it's all subjective. You can give me somebody that you think should have been.
One of the surprising players, and he wouldn't get in the front three. One of the surprises is the one that Tam referenced, Giroud. Giroud had a really good World Cup.
Yeah. Hugh, I like Giroud. Hugh mentioned, Hugh Scott said, I would have put Amrabat from Morocco in midfield. He was a good player as well. I mean, they could have come up with somebody in the centre of defence too. But listen, it's all subjective. I thought that was a strong 11. It certainly didn't have an England player in it. I mean, honestly,
Bellingham had a decent
World Cup. He wasn't outstanding.
After a couple of good games.
He wasn't outstanding.
And he had a poor game as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember the poor game. USA managed, battled him down. The thing about Bellingham is Bellingham's got his whole life ahead of him. He's 19 and he's
going to be brilliant.
He's going to get 150 caps for England. He's going to be England captain within 5 years, blah, 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 blah. But this wasn't his World Cup. The England thing, it's completely, and I know we always get accused of anti-English, the whole England hype and the whole England reaction to the World Cup has just bemused me. I mean, people are going, no, that's great, Southgate's not moving. No questions at all about Southgate, no questions about his selections, no question about how he took so long to get Foden in the team, no questions at all about he's a manager that never ever manages to change a game in play. Can you ever remember a tweak?
Ever?
Can you ever remember a tweak that he's put in and you went, oh, that changed the game? I don't think so.
He's very reactive.
Very reactive.
Rather than proactive, he doesn't. When something happens, he'll change.
Sometimes he changes
instead of being proactive.
Instead of, I think the great one is like, is the France game, which was very much like the Italy game in the Euros, where, where it gets to one each, it's all up for grabs. Who's going to win it? And you just look at the sideline, and you say to yourself, do you know what? I think Mancini's going to win this. Mancini's going to do something, and by hook or by crook, they're going to beat 1-0. They're going to come back. They're going to get a draw, and they'll get through.
I don't want to talk about England because I think it would be a complete waste of the show when it's all positive. And again, I agree with you. There is not an anti-English. I think it's what it is try and take a step back and do not get, indoctrinated by this nonsense of a team that were knocked out once they come up against one half decent team.
Yep.
And I don't think we should lose ourselves in that. So from Southgate staying on as manager, I know you're not a fan. I think he's a thoroughly decent man. I think he's got a good squad, and I think they could prove to be formidable in the next European Championships if they develop the way I think they are. But it's another topic for another day. If we're talking about football and the joy of the World Cup final and the joy of watching that tournament. Now let's talk about anti-football. I was up there. The one thing that saved me, Tam, I might as well tell you, I went to Pittodrie, so you couldn't go in the outside lane because it was all ice and black sheet, so it was a long, slow road up to Aberdeen. I had thermal socks on, boots, long johns, this new button.
Did you get the Gilly?
I bought it, yep. So it turns the heater on.
Is it good?
And then I put the PLZ jacket on, which is phenomenal.
So you got a PLZ jacket?
Yeah, and then did you enjoy the Christmas party? And then I put gloves on, and then after that,
You didn't put the heating on in the car, did you, with all that?
no. But I have to tell you this: Aberdeen would get football stopped. Honestly, they were utterly terrible.
I was so disappointed to see the way they set up. I really was. I was looking forward to the game. I thought Aberdeen, games against Celtic and Rangers are not a free hit, but you go and have a go, right? You go and have a go, particularly at home. Away from home, I can understand it a little bit. At home, they've scored 22 goals in 5 games at home. Their strengths going forward. Majovski's the top scorer in the league. The wee boy Duke beside him. And all they done was sit with 5 strung across the back, 3 sitting in front of them and they 2 up front, and they won the ball and they just shelled it, and it was horrendous to watch. And I'm no surprised that Aberdeen fans are really upset about that, because it's okay saying they were 3-4 minutes away from getting a point, but I don't even think the Aberdeen fans would have been that delighted with 0-0. I think it was just a poor setup, and he's took a lot of criticism for it, and I think you'll see a totally different Aberdeen team against Rangers, which won't be music to the Rangers fans' ears.
Well, no wonder the Rangers fans are making the accusations, and rightly so. Yeah, rightly so, because Ruffy, Callum McGregor made 170 passes, which is more than the entire Aberdeen team in the game. That's poor.
That's more passes than Ruffy at the Christmas party.
Yeah, absolutely.
Soft drinks. No, I agree with what Tom's saying. You want to entertain, but as a manager, you've got to look at what's available. I know they've got a great record at home. If that manager thinks and he works all week in a formation and how he's going to frustrate Celtic, maybe try and nick it, fair enough. And when was the last game we saw something like this happening? Can you remember? I'll give you a hint. It was an international game.
Levine, the Czech Republic.
Craig Levine. Yeah. Craig Levine was so far away for getting a respectable nothing each, and it never worked because of the formation that he played or whatever. But he had it in his mindset that was the way he was going to take something out of that game. And as a manager, I think you've got to accept that. It's not acceptable to watch. If the players buy into it and he gets a nothing each, I know Tom's saying the fans wouldn't have been happy with that. I think they would have.
Yeah. I think he was 3 minutes away from getting some kind of plaudit for it. Yeah. But here's what he had to say when I did say to him, "Are you happy with your park the bus tactic?"
It's not a style of football that our fans here at Pittodrie have been used to this season. We've won prior to today, won 6 of the last 7 league fixtures, scored loads of goals at home, been very attacking minded and very offensive. But today I felt to give us the best chance of getting a result from the game, that was the best way to go. And any criticism that is going to come, and I hear the fans at the end, the mumping and the moaning, and I understand it completely. They want to see us being more attacking than that, and obviously we will be in the future. But today I just felt that was the best way to manage that particular game.
Well, if he thinks that, I mean, he obviously has thought to himself, well, if I come out and play against them, we'll get battered.
Mm-hmm. And I think he'd probably be right. I mean, I think the whole thing about him is he's identified not so much what I thought was crucial games the way Aberdeen concertinaed. They didn't just play 5 and then 3. They played 5-3. Mm-hmm. And there was no space between the two lines.
Yeah.
Because he's looking at it, he's saying to himself, see Celtic, if Kyogo comes short, or or McGregor drifts in, or Riley just, it's the space between the two lines that's going to cause us problems. So there was moments in the game, I just watched on the television, where you could actually see Celtic when were in possession, and Aberdeen players running back as if they had to go to that 20-yard spot and stand and start again.
Well, some of the players come into the press room afterwards and says the manager gave us a tactic and we followed it to the T.
They did. They followed it to the T.
Sorry, Hugh. See if I was a player and I was told this, that would be horrendous to play in. See if I was a player and I come off that pitch after that game, an Aberdeen player, I'd be like, that was terrible.
No, terrible. You're following the rules,
you're following your manager's tactics, which is, but you're not going to enjoy that as a player.
Some individual players wouldn't accept
enjoy that as a player.
If you're a striker, you're not going to accept that.
Why Miovski get took off after an hour and never touched the ball?
But if you're a defending player and you come off, it's nothing each, you've done your job.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing, the biggest cheer from the Aberdeen fans in the game at one point was Johnny Hayes come on as a sub, and he beat a player and ran forward, and you'd have thought he'd scored a goal by the way.
Right.
He'd only moved 20 yards forward, but they'd never seen it the entire game. In contrast to that, the flip side to it was Celtic stuck at it. Callum McGregor, I think the Celtic fans were delighted to see him back, and certainly I think Ange Postecoglou, I don't think he's running out of superlatives, but he's certainly coming up with them to sum up as captain.
It doesn't need me to sit here and say that he's an outstanding Celtic footballer that long after I'm gone will be remembered, and there's more in him. He's taken on the leadership now in the last year and a half, and I think he's grown in terms of his influence on the field, and he wants to get better. And as long as he wants to get better, he's got more in him.
Yeah, he's a different class, Ruffy. I mean, he doesn't waste the ball. He had 2 howlers before it. I reminded him of them. But if at first you don't succeed, try again.
No, if you've been out that long with injury, it doesn't matter who you are. When you come back, you got a wee bit of doubt in your head. Can you get back to the levels of what you were at? And he certainly did that once he settled in. You can see he's very, very fit, extremely fit. To go right through the whole game. And I don't think we're too far away from comparing him with Scott Brown. I know Scott Brown's won a lot more than him, but 2 or 3 years down the line, I think he'll be up there with everything that Scott Brown says. I think he's a better player than Scott Brown.
Yeah.
I think he's more mobile. I think he affects the game a lot more, and I think in the next 2 or 3 years he'll be superb.
Well, let's ask Scott Brown's mate. What do you think of that line?
No, I'd agree with that. I think that Callum McGregor is a better all-round football player than Scott in terms of ability, and Ruffy's right, affecting the game, goals, assists, but I don't think you can underestimate how big a captain, how big a leader Scott Brown is in the history of Celtic. There's no many bigger captains, probably only one, Billy McNeil, in terms of winning honours, so Callum's still got a bit to go to get to that level.
Yeah, Ronnie Chapman says, Tam, they only play against Rangers, mate, and I think he's talking about...
Do you know what it was like? It was like Albion Rovers playing Celtic at Parkhead, and Albion Rovers putting everybody behind the ball and trying to keep the score down. I looked at it and I went, what formation is Aberdeen playing here?
Yeah.
It was really poor.
It wasn't great. And listen, Celtic are getting ready, of course, for their game against Livingston, and our man Adam Binney's been busy today, Buchanan Street and then Celtic Park.
Thanks, Peter. I'm outside of Celtic Park this afternoon to speak to Celtic defender Carol Starfelt ahead of their match against Livingston here on Wednesday night. Celtic have announced new signing Yuki Kobayashi recently, who plays the same position as Starfelt, but the Swedish defender assured us that his position is not under threat and that he welcomes the competition.
I think everyone knows that in a club like Celtic, who's always pushing to take next steps and become better, it's gonna be like this. It's gonna be tough competition for the spots, which I think every player is, what I've seen, are just like embracing it and knowing that they have to step up in the training and perform every day. You can never relax. So I think it pushes everyone to hopefully become a little bit better. So it's nothing he has to say or we have to speak about. It's just the way it is, and I think everyone has embraced it good.
Celtic have at times been criticised for not meeting the physical challenge that Livingston posed, but Celtic defender Callum remains assured that his side can meet that challenge on Wednesday night.
No, I think we've been coping really well. We have a lot of boys with strong what do you say, physicality as well. But no, we've been coping as well, and just by playing our football, we usually limit the opposition chance to make it a physical, really physical contest, which is good against some of these teams. But no. Like I said, our record in the league is really good, so I feel like we're coping well.
Peter, Carol Starfelt has been in impressive form this season, but the new signing Yuki Kobayashi could come in and steal his position. Who do you think is the number one at the back for Celtic? Is it Starfelt? Is it Kobayashi? Or could Stephen Welsh also make a return to the starting 11 on Wednesday?
Well, talking about Welsh maybe moving out in January, Kobayashi won't be until then, so Starfelt's got his chance against the Livingston side, Ruffy, that used to be a thorn in Celtic's side.
Certainly did, thorn in a lot of people's side, you know, just because of the surface and everything and the way they play. But I think now other teams have got round, they know what to expect now when they go to Livingston. They know it's going to be a battle, they know they have to play a certain way, and Celtic have mastered that, but I still think it'll be a tricky tie. But as usual, as soon as Celtic get that first goal, it's usually 2 or 3. Yeah,
we'll be hearing from Michael Beale shortly and Robbie Nielsen. But what about David Martindale? He's got the task of trying to work out a way to stop that relentless pursuit of a goal and 3 points that Celtic will pose on Wednesday.
Thanks, Peter. I'm outside of the Tony Macaroni Arena this morning to speak to David Martindale and Andrew Shinnie ahead of their trip to Celtic Park to face the league leaders Celtic on Wednesday. Now, this week, Livingston have come under a bit of fire. That's because their game against Dundee United at the weekend was postponed. That's despite the fact an artificial surface has been installed here at the Tony Macaroni Arena. So we spoke to Livingston manager David Martindale, who defends and explains the decision to not have the game go ahead.
No, it's not, Brian. Where did you get told that? It's just an artificial surface. I don't know where this all-weather surface comes from. Somebody just made this up. I think it's the guy itself, is it? It's all-weather. He's not answering his phone now. No, to be fair, it's a synthetic surface, but we had 3 or 4 nights at -8, and we struggled to get over any 0 degrees, 1 degrees throughout the rest of the week. The sprinkler system's 16 inches below the surface, and that was frozen solid. So that gives you an indication of how solid the part was.
It's certainly going to be one of the toughest tests of the season for David Martindale's at Livingston when they travel to Parkhead on Wednesday. But we were speaking to Livingston forward Andrew Shinnie, who says this will not affect his side's mentality going into the match.
Very difficult. It's just staying mentally focused, really. When your body's getting tired, you just got to stay mentally focused. But it's not all sort of negative game plan from our point of view. We're not going there to just lie down and be pummeled. Like, we've got to try and bring our style to the game as well, and it's a football match, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's 11 v 11 on the park, and I know they're a top side, but we've got results against big teams before, so there's no reason we can't go and do it again on Wednesday, and that's the belief we're going with.
Peter, do you accept the defence of David Martindale that the artificial surface here is not in fact an all-weather surface and that has been misconstrued? And what do you think about Andrew Shinnie's comments? Do you think Livingston have really any chance at all at beating the champions on Wednesday night?
Yeah, Adam's everywhere, isn't he?
It's the Adam Binney show.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It's just like cleaning my flat at the moment.
We're going live to your flat now where Adam is. He's emptying it. But yeah, he did a good job there. It's not an all-weather pitch, Ruffy.
Yeah.
You know, it's an AstroTurf pitch.
Yeah, I mean,
you happy with that?
Not really, no. I think you know what's going to happen when you've got the pitch that they've got. I'm sure they could have put covers or something on it. You know, it might have helped it a wee bit. I don't know if they did that, but certainly not. It's not. You know, we keep saying no, it should be grass, but there was grass parts off at the weekend as well.
Yeah. There's got to be a rule introduced in Scottish football: Premiership. if you've not got Grass Park and under soil heating, you don't get into the Premier League.
I agree with you. I've been saying it for years. Absolutely. Listen, of the other games that took place over the weekend, good win for Hearts, 3-1. Shankland getting a couple of goals, and he could be the first striker since John Robertson to bag 20 goals.
Yeah, I mean, he takes the penalties, you know, he scores the odd goal here and there. He's got every chance of that. I mean, Hearts are free-flowing. I thought Kilmarnock were going to come back into it in the second half. You know, when they got that goal, there was a wee bit of a wobble. But certainly, again, Kilmarnock, bad record away from home. They need to start picking up some points. But no, Hearts will be happy with that.
Yeah, 14 goals for Shankland, and Nielsen delighted he's got him.
That's massive for us, you know. Any team that's got a guy that can be top goal scorer in the league is going to be a benefit to us. I think, you know, today we moved him a wee bit to the right hand side and then up top, and he can play those roles for us. You know, he's a very clever player, and for us it's just really, you know, getting chances for him, opportunities, because Lawrence will score goals, you know, but it's us making sure we get enough bodies round about him and get him into good areas.
Yeah, I thought they were a wee bit unlucky, Kilmarnock, on one issue. Their centre half was pushed, and then the ball comes off him and the referee awards a penalty.
I thought
that was poor.
I thought it was poor as well. I just think Kilmarnock don't need things to go against them either.
No.
Kilmarnock really need things just to go for them. I think they're in a very...
Fair away for home here.
They can't do it. And there doesn't seem any kind of like sight hope. They'll have to do something in the transfer window. They have to get, I don't know how much money there Billy Bowie's got to throw at it again. But they're already in peril. Them and Dundee United are, because you can see something about, I know Ross County lost against Saturday, but you can see something about Ross County and the transfer window that'll pull them out of it. I think already it's looking dicey for the two at the bottom.
Yeah, and the assistant Tony Docherty, like Derek McInnes, who wasn't well, but probably he wasn't well because he couldn't believe they'd been awarded a penalty against him. But even Tony Docherty was amazed that they had to try and defend that spot kick.
Aye, the penalty. I mean, it's 2-1, and I think personally, we're the team that are going to score the next goal. And then if you get that equaliser, then you look to go and win the game, and that's the way the game turned. I don't know what a handball is anymore, to be honest, because my take on it, Big Joe's going back the way, he's nudged beyond Shankland, so his hands go up in the air and the ball hits him. So yes, his hands are in an unnatural position, but for a reason. And I think there's a lot of, I mean, you guys will agree as well, I don't know what a handball is, I don't know what it is. Certainly hits his hand, but I think you need to look at extenuating circumstances why it hits his hand.
Yeah, Tony Docherty's right there. What about the other game? Listen, I'll tell you one thing, if you are a centre half and your goalkeeper passes it out to you with two players around you, and then you get sent off. I mean, I would look at the goalkeeper and say, by the way, I'll see you when you get into the dressing room.
Yeah, it was a grenade. Honestly, it's a hospital pass.
And County are 1-0 up at that time.
1-0 up, an hour gone in the game, you know, looking good. And it totally changes the momentum of the game. Graham Kerry actually hit the post, but just after Ali Crawford, you know, comes on, scores 2 goals, 2 great finishes, but you know, without this red card, I don't think Ross County would have lost the game, and it was a huge game. It puts St Johnstone right up the table in the top 6, and Ross County still, you know, I'd agree with you. I think that Dundee United and Kilmarnock are going to be the two at the bottom, but Ross County need to start picking up points. That was a bad result for them.
Yeah. I always find though, Tom, see, like this insistence, and like we play out for the back and we do it, but that's all right. See if you've got Barcelona or something like that. Yeah. You can be brought in the Messiah, you know, and the La Masia.
Yeah.
You've. But I once had an argument once with a manager, I'll not name him, and he said, "Well, that's the way we want to play." I says, "But you've not got the players to play that way."
And what did Mixu Patalini say to you when you asked him?
It was because what happened. What happened in that game is they were playing out a centre back who was, was obviously uncomfortable. So uncomfortable that the opposition team were letting them have the ball and then going towards them.
Yeah.
And you say, well, even then you're spotting it. I know they want a strategy of, you know, this is our principle, possession. But goodness me, if you've not got the players to do it, and you see really good teams mess up.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I remember roughly an hour in the Nou Camp, and we couldn't believe it when Barcelona tried to play out from the back. Celtic had the high press, and Abidal played the ball to Xavi, who played it to Iniesta. He played it to Puyol, who played it to Piqué. He then played it to Messi, and then they worked their way up the park and made it 7-0. Unbelievable, Hugh. We thought it was just, I think they were showing off.
I never know. Did Callum Davison come out and tell everybody how difficult it was to play against 10 men? I didn't use that excuse. no.
No, he didn't.
It's not difficult to play against 10 men. That is the biggest myth in football history.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to break. No, it's not. You've got the ball for the whole
See, if
game.
it was difficult to play against 10 men, or more difficult to play, every manager would just pick 10 men.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, I wonder what Aberdeen are going to do. Well, do you think they'll stick 10 men behind the ball against Rangers? Kerry Pollock, our reporter, was out there to get the thoughts of Michael Beale ahead of this game tomorrow at Pittodrie.
Here at the Rangers training centre this afternoon, where Michael Beale has been looking ahead to Rangers' next game against Aberdeen, taking place tomorrow night at Pittodrie. Nothing but 3 points will do for Rangers if they're in with any hopes of catching Celtic at the top of the Premiership table at the minute. After last week's victory over Hibs, Beale did admit the team are nowhere near where he feels they need to be in terms of catching Celtic for the title. He knows they have a mountain to climb between now and the end of the season, but knows what the key is for his players.
If you see where we're at, we're going to have to maybe use everybody that we've got in the squad in terms of finding a solution to open the door. I'm not going to give you any secrets right now, but I think the way we played the second half the other day will create chances against every team in this league. So it's important we start where we left off on Thursday, because I was pleased with the second half in particular.
On the run-up to tomorrow night's game, Beale says that the attacking threat within his squad will be more effective than ever if Aberdeen set up any way similar to what they did at the weekend.
And I thought you saw an Aberdeen team that had a game plan and were close to executing it. There was a few close moments in the game where they were lucky not to concede. It's whether Jim thinks that's the way to go against us. I was at the game at Ibrox, 6-7 weeks ago. And obviously we played very well in that game. And
I'm curious to see what way they're going to line up.
He's not going to line up 5-3-1-1.
If they go defensive again, Ruffy, then it's going to be the same outcome. Rangers will pick them off, but I don't know. I don't see them going 2 games up back to back with that. I don't think the Aberdeen fans would put up with it. I know Willie Miller had a real go at them for their tactic on the radio.
I think we've already discussed. You can see the reason why. You pay your money to be entertained. I think they will be different against Rangers tomorrow night. I don't think Rangers have got the same players that Celtic have got that will hurt you. They still will have to be defensive minded. They'll have to really do their job defensively, but I think you'll find they'll be more attacking in this game.
Yeah, okay. I've got Rangers to win 3-1 up at Aberdeen. What about yourself?
I've got Rangers 2-1.
Hugh?
No, I'm going for a draw.
Going for a draw because you just... Have you picked a restaurant yet?
No, I'm just part of my complete and utter contempt for this prediction thing.
You know why he's doing this? Because his grandchildren need a day out.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we have an executive vote to vote him off the panel for ruining it? Because he's going to end up taking us all out for a meal.
He wants to anyway. He's free. He's got plenty of money.
Yeah, okay. You're just
I'm going for 2-1 to Rangers. But if Rangers drew Rob Roy in the Scottish Cup, he would go for a draw.
Well, only because Rob Roy are not at home at the moment. They don't have their own home. As you go to them, they don't have Kirkendall, Rob Roy don't have their own home.
Okay.
So it'd have to be a neutral game.
Jimmy Duff says, Ruffy, you talk crap. Jimmy, what's that all about? Jimmy, you're usually sensible, by the way. Any chance? That's outrageous, by the way.
By the way, what happened to Adam for the Michael Beale press conference? Was he malingering or something like that? Did he have a chesty cough like
Why did Kerry do it?
Why did Kerry doing it instead of Adam?
I know.
Well, we have to mix it up, by the way. We have to mix it up. Anyway, let's have a look at the table, see how it all stands before these 2 games. And there you see it, Celtic still with that 9-point advantage, but at the bottom, as Ruffy mentioned there, and the guys were talking about, Dundee United, Kilmarnock, Ross County. You're never going to throw Motherwell out of the equation just yet as well.
Can't want to throw Hibs out either.
No, Hibs will need to get their act together. So it's getting interesting at the bottom end. And of course, let's not forget there's a January transfer window as well. As far as the predictor is concerned, Ruffy, at the top end of it, there is a trophy this season, Ruffy, to pick up. So 140 plays 138. Tam's on 127. And then further backs, Alison McConnell on 124. And then Tam Cowan, who's still with us, Hugh, which is great news. 119, we've decided to keep him. 109 is Hugh McDonald.
I'm quite good, 109, that's quite good.
If you just got your act together, you could really...
I don't want to get my act together, I'm quite happy at the bottom.
Okay. So
time of what people a meal, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So the quiz, who was who picked up the young player of the World Cup? That trophy was handed to Enzo Fernandez of Argentina, and of course he plays for Benfica as well. Had a good tournament.
Aye, great tournament, I mean, finishing with two trophies at the end of a night in Lusail. Not a bad way, but I mean, all these Argentinian, Ruffy mentioned it earlier. I mean, see things about awards, young players, and that's great. It's great for the grandwains and the mantelpiece, but that lives with you for the rest of your life. I mean, these guys will be walking down streets in Buenos Aires when they're 80, and people will come up and stopping them in the streets and things.
So you end up going to dinners non-stop. It's absolutely magnificent.
These guys will end up so much heroes. They'll go onto the Argentina FA board, then they'll be bombed out off the board.
Absolutely.
That's what happens.
That's what happens in every country.
Happens to heroes.
Exactly. Listen, talking of winners, we've got 6 winners, 6 vouchers on the way to Declan Corcoran, Andrew Neil, David McMillan, Lisa Cowan, Andrew Hogg, and George Reed. Congratulations to all of you. Some of you subscribed to the channel, which was the way you could also get a chance to win one of the vouchers for Copa and Greaves Sports. We were in there, Ruffy, and anyone who gets a voucher is going to be able to pick themselves either a classic Argentina.
I'm getting that.
You're going to get the Boca Juniors.
Well, I'm going to Boca Juniors next year, God willing.
Yeah, and there's some belters that the vouchers will be able to get themselves.
I think you might have to have a raft of Argentinian ones after them winning it. I think that might sway people's.
I seen the other day that Adidas had ran out of Messi Argentina strips.
No wonder.
Yeah, no
wide.
Yeah,
there was none left.
Absolutely, it was like that for Pele in 1970 as well, and that's it. Final. So, listen, thank you to so many of you who've posted your thoughts on who the greatest player of all time is. Maybe it's a generational thing.
The greatest player of all time.
There you are, and Ruffy. You know what?
You could have had your hands on that.
I've had my hands on the real one.
Yeah.
I have. It came to Hampden at Scotland up in the VIP room, and everybody, I've got a photograph. I'll bring it in.
Can I just say something to you, Ruffy? Can I just say something to you? See that one there? You could have had your hands on it if you and your greedy lot hadn't started arguing over bonuses. If you'd have just got your act together, that could have been us in 78.
Name names.
Eh?
Name names.
Exactly. Anyway, was it the greatest World Cup final ever? We'd love to hear from you on that. Tomorrow we'll be discussing, of course, Aberdeen against Rangers and looking ahead to Celtic Livingston. And then, of course, there's some great fixtures over the festive period as well. I can't tell you because over the weekend, coming up on our LinkedIn, Ruffy, it is this week. 10 years we've been together. We brought Hugh on 2 weeks into it, and on the 10 years, Ruffy, I mean, apart from yourself, who obviously at times doesn't have the same commitment, Hugh never called off in the 10 years once for a cold, a sniffle, something that he had to do with his wife or golf or anything. Hugh's been there. He's been a rock.
Can't get rid of me, is basically.
That's exactly it. So we are going to show you some over the festive period. We'll put out a couple of the best ofs of the 10 years, some great guests along the way, and some really, really good guests. We'll do the best of this season as well, and hopefully you'll join us because we've got an old firm special coming up as well with 2 guests who've played in these classic matches to join us in the studio as well. So we're not going anywhere. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget, if you download the PLZ Soccer app, you can watch the programme live on your phone as well. And it is all the breaking football news stories, as you can see, with all the stuff we have on Argentina on the app as well. I'm sure you'll enjoy it on there, on our website. From Tam, from Ruffy with the World Cup Crazy Dreams, and from Hugh McDonald, myself, Peter Martin, thank you for watching.